One thing every personal trainer needs to know about planning. Hi, I'm Hayley from Parallel Coaching, and in this video we're going to explore planning, but most importantly, the one thing that you need to know about planning. Planning can be so confusing. There can be so many different parts to it. There can be so many different sections, different variables, different exercises. So it can be very overwhelming to put together a plan. So that's what I want to do today. I want to simplify it and say this is the one thing you need to know. And then outside of that, I've got more help for you. But there are also 3 mock questions to check your knowledge on today's content. All you need to do is to click the link if you're not already on our blog. It will take you straight there and you can answer the 3 mock questions. So let's explore what this thing is about planning. So you might find planning a little bit daunting, a little bit overwhelming. You might find that when you plan, you've got a million different bits of paper all laid out on the floor. You might find that you screw up bits of plans. Either way, what the problem is for most personal trainers is that they start with the exercises. And the one thing you need to know is that exercises don't matter. What does matter is the adaptation, the anatomical and physiological adaptation that happens in your client as a result of the things that we program them. And I'll explore why that exercise doesn't matter, but I'll also explore how it's the adaptation to the exercise that matters. So let's find this idea really. Here we're talking about the fact that an exercise is irrelevant, but what we do need to know is know our client's goal straight away. So you've got to be aware of what that client's goal is. And then you've got to find what the adaptation is that they want for that goal. So for example, if your client wants hypertrophy, they want to get bigger muscles, then we need to make sure that we're working between 8 and 12 repetition maximum to overload, and they're going to need a good amount of volume. And then any cardio we do, we want to match at a similar intensity between kind of RPE 7 and 9, for example. It's either side of the anaerobic threshold. And it gives you a really good understanding. That's what we need to do. So actually, as long as I get all of my clients' muscles to overload inside 8 to 12 repetitions, and overload means that they can't do any more. They get to the end of that set and they do their 10 reps and they can't do an 11th rep. At that point, I know that my client's going to get better adaptation. They're going to, over time, get bigger hypertrophy. Their muscle diameter will start to grow. They'll start to increase the capacity of those muscle fibers, and they will start to add the hypertrophy that they want. That takes volume, it takes frequency, and it means that we need to build that up over time. So we now know what that main adaptation is that I want. And now I know the variable's relevant. And as long as I cover the whole body, so I like to make sure I've got legs in there. So you're going to need something for the front of the legs, quads. You're going to need something for the back of the legs, which is hamstrings and glutes. You may well also add something for calves if that's not part of the exercises you're doing. You're also going to want something for the chest and for the mid-back. You're probably going to want something for the core and for the lower back, and you're probably going to want something for the shoulders and for the lats. And then you can also add biceps and triceps if you want to. But the key things is to say I've got legs, I've got shoulders, I've got lats, I've got chest, I've got back, and then I'm also going to make sure that I've kind of got something about the core in there as well. So you're going to make sure that it's balanced and that you're including something for every single muscle. And then it doesn't matter which exercise I choose. So let's just say I go legs. Then I can go, right, I'm going to pick a squat, for example. But the thing that matters is not what type of squat my client does. That's not going to determine whether they get hypertrophy or not, as long as they get to overload. So for one client, that might be relevant that I set up a bench and I basically get them to sit to stand off that bench, and that is enough load for their quads and their glutes to be able to really fire up out of a squat and get to overload. Whereas for another client, that would barely be a warm-up. And instead, I would want to progress through, maybe I'm holding a goblet squat. Maybe I'm holding a back squat with a barbell. Maybe I go, actually, I can't get to the load that I need to for that. I'm going to move to a leg press. Same action, but I've progressed it to something that is relevant for that client so they can get to overload. And that's the thing you need to know, is that once you've picked your overall muscles you're going to work, you pick the exercise and then you need to regress and progress that exercise so your client gets to the overload they need. Your client could carry on doing variations of the squat for the whole time they're with you for that entire 12 weeks or even a year. It doesn't matter. What does matter is that you've hit that muscle repeatedly for overload. That's going to be the thing that gets you the client results. And sometimes what happens in planning is that we overcomplicate it. We get overwhelmed, we overcomplicate it, we search on YouTube, we find a couple of wonderful things, we're like, that plan will be perfect. And before you know it, you've not trained legs at all that week. All you've done is actually enjoy doing some other different types of variable exercises, but they're not actually getting the client to overload and they're not going to get the goal they want. So that's the one thing you need to know about planning, is you need to get your client to overload, because it's all about anatomical and physiological adaptation. It is not about the exercise. Hopefully that will stay with you. If you want to know more about planning and you want to make sure that you do understand all these concepts of adaptation and make sure that you know how to put a plan together or a periodized program for your client, then make sure you check out our Fit Progressions. There's going to be a link to that alongside this video. Fit Progressions is designed to be for fit pros that are in training. So if you're trained to become a personal trainer or Pilates, for example, but also if you're already qualified. And it will basically talk you through every part of the client journey, from that consultation all the way through to getting a result with them, the planning, the instructing, even a bit of business in there. Now, the Fit Progressions is designed to help you do that with confidence and with knowledge so that you can get really good results with your clients. So please do go and check out Fit Progressions. And I would also love it if you drop a little comment underneath and let me know what your big takeaway has been from today's video. Have a lovely day ahead, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care.